Aloha, I am June Jones of the Houston Roughnecks, and this is the XFL Show.
If you smell what the XFL is cooking.
Welcome, football fans. This is For the Love of Football, and this is the XFL Show. I'm Alan.
And I'm Bryant.
The CFL is moving forward with their 2021 season. Half of this show is moving studios. And the road to the next big XFL news moves right along, right here on episode 176. We're moving, Bryant.
Happy Boxing Day to you, Alan.
That's not what Boxing Day is. I mean, it's my own personal Boxing Day.
Yeah, I know it's still a lot of questions around what Boxing Day truly is, but it seems like you're celebrating it in full effect right now. Happy Boxing Day. It's
not... It's joyous to share the intimacy of shoving all your belongings into boxes with your wife. And that is the positive there. But man, sore, tired, late night recording. But we had to get this in because it is another week on the road, and we have some stuff to talk about. This is the XFL Show, and you know what? There's not that much CFL to get into, just a little bit, and I think that might be a relief to you, Bryant, because you were starting to complain that this was becoming the CFL Show, especially with a double dose last week, a show and a Dave Naylor interview.
Yeah, go back and listen to our Dave Naylor episode. I was off camera. I was telling him, how do we make sure that this is not the CFL Show? Because it's not the CFL Show, it's the XFL Show.
And I said, what are you talking about? This is still just the XFL Show. There's no Canadian stuff going on, eh? Don't be a hoser.
There's not actually. Here we go. See? I'm prepared. I haven't decided exactly my team yet, so that's still up for grabs. But I am hopeful that we'll get that finalized before the season starts August 5th.
Yes, and I got my Riders shirt in the mail. It's coming in the mail.
Really? Where's it going, though? I hope you didn't send it to this place.
No, because this place is it's gone forever to me, after tomorrow. So, yeah, it'll be coming to LA, so you'll see me rocking it throughout the summer.
How does this
in person?
Is this too much?
No, it's great.
Oh,
I love
awesome.
it. I love seeing that.
Yeah, there is 2 episodes last week. We talked about the CFL announcing that they were coming back August 5th, August 6th.
5, I believe. 5. Maybe.
They're coming back to play the 2021 season, how that all relates to the XFL. We also talked to Dave Naylor as a separate show. 2 shows last week, so make sure you check those out on YouTube at xfl.show.
I love it. 724-565-4XFL is the XFL fan line for you to call. And we've been getting texts there and some voicemails, people asking questions, a lot of the same questions because, well, there's still a lot of confusion out there. Exactly. Wait, what are you talking about? Some people will call. I like the voicemails we get, Brian. They say, so wait, the XFL bought the CFL? No, that's not what we're talking about. Alignment, but they're talking at a table about what they might do together. We're going to kind of clear up the confusion a little bit later on.
We are, and it is
have to do that.
We definitely have to do that because people are finally starting to congregate together. They're getting into groups, these massive groups. All these things are happening. People are talking. We got to set we got to set everything straight, and we got to make sure everybody's prepared for these types of conversations that are going to happen. Here in the U.S., we got July 4th coming up. A lot of barbecue, a lot of beers, a lot of conversations to be had that you probably haven't had in almost 2 years.
Yeah, seeing family members you haven't seen in a while.
I'm going to see Alan for the first time in a year and a half.
Yeah, and I've been going to my, as I leave the Berg for the summer, I was getting my local bar in as much as I could the last few weeks. So I would hit it up, and every single time I'd run into someone and start talking XFL, and they say, "Oh yeah, what's the deal with that? Is that coming back?" And then Well, we'll talk about exactly how that's been going lately in the hot read. So 724-565-4XFL. If you want to hit us up, text at XFL Show, of course, on social media. And we are everywhere there at XFL Show. And of course, we are brought to you by Pretty Easy Podcasts. And their website is prettyeasypodcasts.com. How easy is that? You just go there and you can actually reach out to Pretty Easy Podcasts directly on their website if you're looking to start your own podcast. So, hey, you're thinking, man, I really been wanting to get this off the ground, but I work, I don't have all this time, but I got a lot to say and I think it'd be good. I just need a little help. And I don't want to spend too much, but I need help and I need someone who knows what they're doing. That's what Pretty Easy Podcasts is all about. So check it out right now at prettyeasypodcasts.com.
Because they make podcasting pretty easy. They make it so easy that you could do it while it's your boxing day. I was in Palm Springs last weekend, made it pretty easy. So they can come and help you. We're learning sign language in the house.
It's almost too easy. I mean, I literally just breaking down. The only thing that's still like up and connected to anything is the internet in this place, and that's all I needed thanks to Pretty Easy Podcast. So
you're probably paying for an extra month for just because of that, huh? Just to make sure you had internet until the very last day that you left.
I made it. I did turn it off the day after I'm gone. So if someone squats in here for a day, they'll have internet. That I did do that. Yes. Real quick, let's dink and dunk around XFL social media. We had Delmar in Maui, Hawaii, hit us up on the XFL fan line with a text saying, "My question is EFL, CFL, USFL, XFL, AFL, IFL. Can you see the XFL? What I'm trying to say is with all the spring leagues, do you think there's enough football players to go around for all these leagues to survive? And do you think the talent will be diluted in the XFL because there's only so many good players to go around?" I like, first of all, the question itself. It's a very important one. Are there enough good players? And I also like the way you set it up, Delmar. That's beautiful. You threw all the acronyms in there. That's true. There's a lot of alphabet soup going on.
But it's fine.
He did miss that one. He didn't. Did he put elf in there too? I don't know.
Well, he did EFL. I think he meant that ELF.
Throw in ELO too. I've been listening to them lately. Delmar, good question. Good question. The answer for me is yes, there are enough good players because I don't think it will be diluted. Eventually, one of those leagues is going to crumble, I think, because they won't be getting these superior players. And I think if you're talking about an alignment between the XFL and the CFL, they are the favorite to have the better players because the CFL already has quality players, I think. And the XFL, at least in 2020, was, I think, the AAF plus a little bit more, Brian. I don't know about you, but I thought they took a lot of the players from the AAF and then they added some other players who probably were sitting out. Yeah, quarterbacks and just better coaching too, maybe. And of course, they had the runway and the time to prepare as teams.
They didn't so that helped a lot. Yeah.
The big thing is, I think, offensive linemen. That's where you see the big difference and the big drop from the NFL to any of these leagues. So in the CFL, that's I think an issue. That's why that game's different in terms of the linemen. I think it's a different type of offensive lineman you're seeing up there. So you're seeing quarterbacks play a different style, but of course the rules are different. So you get away with it in the CFL. That's the big question. I think is the linemen in those leagues, whichever league has the best protection for the quarterback. If they're playing 4-down football, that'll be the most noticeable when it comes to the quality of the football.
And the one that looks as familiar to people as football, right? So if you have something out there that doesn't look like football to people, it doesn't matter what the quality of play is, it's going to be a different sport. So I don't know how interested people will be in that. Maybe off the bat, you get what you can, you do what you can with what you got. At some point, one of these leagues, like Alan was saying, will kind of surpass them all, whether it be financially speaking. Maybe they're more financially stable. Maybe players gravitate towards them for whatever the TV contracts may be, maybe the exposure, maybe some deal with the NFL. Who knows? But I think to get off the ground, you probably have enough players to go around. I mean, you have how many Division I colleges?
College football is so good. Players are so good. there's more than enough, especially if they're going to play in the pros, and if hopefully they're enticed to actually go play in these leagues. That's the big thing. Is the pay? That's the most important thing. I think there's enough good players, and you can't even dilute that if you have enough of them wanting to play professional football in one of these leagues. And really, you threw a lot of word alphabet soup, like I said, in there. But really, the ones we're concerned about are CFL, XFL, and maybe USFL now that they have Fox behind them. But good question, Delmar.
Yeah, no, I think we even got into it with David Hiller too. So go back and check that out too.
How about shout out to Jake Plummer? Here's the only really Canadian part of the show, Bryant. Jake Plummer. I don't think he's Canadian. I think he's from like Montana or something, or Idaho. What a state that has very few people in it. So maybe it's like he's like a Canadian adjacent. But anyway, he's starring in a movie where he plays a CFL quarterback. He plays
Idaho.
a grizzled. He plays a grizzled veteran quarterback, I think, for the Hamilton Tiger Cats in this movie called Kick that's coming out. I read an article about it, and he's going to be starring in it. It looks like with the guy who's in the Old Spice commercials. Count me in. I'm watching this.
I mean, I'll be into it. I don't mind. It's interesting. So he's going to be playing a quarterback, but the movie's called Kick. So I don't think it. I mean, like I think he might not be the most centralized, part of that movie. It seems like.
Is that the most bizarre part of it? And it's not even that Jake Plummer, former quarterback who made it to an AFC championship, is in this movie, even in a small role. It's that it's a football movie called Kick. Oh, so you would think it's football is in football, yeah. But no, it's a Canadian football. So that I just caught my eye, and I'll be watching that whenever it does come out. And it's the Old Spice guy, but not Terry Crews, the other guy who's like half. Sometimes he's like a half horse,
That's the only time I've ever seen him as a half horse.
I think he does him, and his like son's a part of it too.
Jake Plummer. Oh my! No, this can't be right.
What?
He last played in 2006. With the Broncos, that can't be right. Is that right?
Then that means he
right
was out of the
graduated.
League immediately. He was out of the league immediately after he lost the AFC Championship game. Then with the Broncos, that's really bizarre. But yeah, I mean he was
2006.
And remember he was playing with the Cardinals before that too. So yeah, he was.
I just feel like I don't know why I feel like he was playing when Tim Tebow was a thing, and like just I don't know why I pictured him playing into the team into 2015 or something like that. I don't know why.
He never even played in the CFL, but he's playing a CFL quarterback in the movies. So I'm going to be watching that. Checking the YouTube comments this week, Bryant. I saw some good advice for us here because we have been saying maybe we'll go to the Grey Cup December 12th. It's not far if I'm still up here in the Northeast. I can get there to Hamilton. Especially if Jake Plummer's going to be there, maybe as a celebrity guest. I want to see it. But Kyle says, you're going to have to dress warm and drink a lot if you attend the Grey Cup. Not a problem. I think I could handle that. So it's still on my radar.
I think so. I don't, there's this weird concept, and it's happened. This is the second time I think it's happened with Canadian, our Canadian patrons, is why is cold and football not associated like with one another? Like that is what football is cold. I think they're so used to it being played in the summer that they're not remembering that football is played in the cold. Like I remember
generally.
Freezing. Yeah, generally. The playoffs are in the cold. They had a Super Bowl in the cold. Like this is what they do. So I don't see that as an abnormality.
Yeah, I mean, you're not scaring me away. I mean, I
think someone said, how can you play football in 0 degrees Celsius? That's 32 degrees. That's a nice sunny day in October in Pittsburgh, I feel like.
I mean, yeah, that's normal. I mean, that's like I would say that's probably the average of a Bears game or a Packers home game for sure.
Yeah, 32. Come on, people. It's not
no
cold
issues.
Is not, yeah. If cold affects your play, you got other things to worry about anyway, too. So
Our final dink and dunkage here, real quick. Our old friend is in the news, Bryant. Remember Pepper Johnson was briefly the Wildcats defensive coordinator?
Do I remember Pepper Johnson? Of course I remember Pepper
Not
Johnson.
not only that, but we drove him. We were his personal chauffeurs at training camp when he was the defensive coordinator for the Wildcats.
Yes, we
Told us
did.
some good stories, gave us some good advice, but then unfortunately it didn't work out with him in the XFL. But now he is the head coach at IMG Academy in Florida, which is, I don't know if you know this, that's like, like see, a lot of our football freaks out there like, oh yeah, IMG, that's a big place. He's the head coach there. But if you don't know what IMG Academy is, and maybe I think Bryant hasn't heard of it, I'll put it like, you remember in Mighty Ducks 3 where they go play at that prep school that's like legit and super hockey factory, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what IMG Academy is. I think for like all sports, but especially football. Like a lot of great players. Yes. A lot of great players will leave their regular high school and then go play there.
Oh, okay.
Like
so it's like
from all across the country.
Well, that's a big thing for Pepper Johnson then to get that kind of role, especially at a high school level.
Yes, big time. So congratulations to him. And hopefully maybe we'll go to a training camp at IMG, Bryant, and we'll drive around with Pepper Johnson again.
That was an interesting car ride from the Wildcats practice to their hotel. Got us a free dinner with the Wildcats, which was great that one time. But man, Pepper Johnson.
Should we have seen the writing on the wall now that I think about it, that they had the defensive coordinator ride with the two podcasters instead of the rest of the team just a couple weeks before he got fired? Maybe. How did we not see that coming?
I guess we're not very good reporters.
Were we a punishment without even knowing it? I don't know.
Do you think he looked at the little Subaru that we had? He's like, I got to get in that thing. What did I do?
I don't know. It was good to meet him. I like that. I had a good time.
I still want to try that place. Ride. He said we had deep fried turkey legs with like macaroni and cheese or something.
Yeah, he told us about some intense eats down in Houston. Side note, I didn't have deep fried turkey leg, but I had a pretty great open faced turkey sandwich today, and I'm still up late. I mean that tryptophan hasn't gotten me yet because I'm excited for today's show, especially talking about who won the Mega Bowl and some of the dubious XFL news that came out this week from The Athletic. What do you say we get into it with this week's Cover 2? He ain't ready. All right, let's talk this Athletic article, Bryant. Daniel Kaplan of The Athletic reporting about the bankruptcy moving along and players receiving their checks, and some of them apparently getting 4 cents to the dollar was the report, 8 cents. Very, 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 very little money compared to what they were owed. Okay, go ahead. Some of these players are getting like $600 or less, is what this article said. Correct?
Yeah. So to break it down a little bit more, it's not necessarily what they were owed; it's what they claimed they were owed. I think the arbitrator went in and said, well, you weren't owed that. You weren't owed that amount. These are all figures from the article that you mentioned there, Alan, on The Athletic. So it is behind a little paywall, so just be wary of that.
Yeah, but each player to that Athletic article.
So each player was putting claims for about $14,560. That was based on the annual. I think what was it here? I'm just reading through this. That was based on salary owed, roster bonuses, and win bonuses. The arbitrator themselves said no, that figure should be $7,280. That's through Peter Hurwitz, wrote that in court, which is $1,040 of the weekly salary multiplied by the 7 weeks remaining under player contracts. So it should be noted that the XFL paid their players through the start of bankruptcy, through the season. Where they didn't pay their players was after the season. So between the 5 weeks of, they played them for 5 weeks of games that weren't played, and they didn't pay them for the weeks after that. So, and then goes on, of the $7,280, a fraction of that will be paid out to players somewhere in the vicinity of $600 to $800.
Ooh. Well, I can attest the bankruptcy and the pandemic for anyone who was working with the XFL sucked because you probably missed out on a lot of money you probably were expecting. Maybe people say, oh, the players weren't even getting that much in that league. But a lot of them were looking forward to those checks. So that just kills you to hear. But again, that's what happened. The pandemic killed the league and thing went bankrupt. And it went away. And so there's no money to be had. There's some checks I was hoping to be getting, Bryant, as we were official league employees too. So a major bummer. This is a reminder of that. Hopefully it's not too sour of a taste in some players' mouths who can still play and are thinking about it. But then you see the quotes. There's quotes from Kenneth Farrow, I believe, in this article, Bryant, that we need to pick apart, he was a former running back, of course, for the Seattle Dragons, and now the head of that. I don't know how to phrase it, a sort of but not players union.
It's a resource for players who do not have representation. Yes, it's a player resource who do not have official player association resources. United Football Players Association.
All for resources for players, for sure, to have information and support. But then a lot of what he said just did not seem right, especially from reporting we've heard when it comes to the XFL's future. And let's pick it apart now.
We can pick it apart. And I do want to bring this up too, because I'm not, and I'll say this too before we get in, with what Farrow is doing, I'm not trying to, I think what he's trying to do is a great thing.
Yeah.
How he's doing it might not be the best execution, because you remember back, he put out that tweet, or someone did, at the United Football Players Association, and basically said the CFL is telling players not to get ready not to play in 2021 or 2022. Basically, or I think it was 2020 and 2021, something like that. Basically, the season was canceled. Yeah, and it was just kind of too early to even say that. It forced the CFL to come out with a statement on that as well. So he came out and said the XFL only wanted, and now this is in relation to the talks between the XFL and the CFL. The XFL, this is a quote from Keith Farrell. From Farrell. The XFL only wanted to involve Montreal, Toronto, and British Columbia because those were the only markets really that were profitable.
What?
We could stop there and break that down, but we'll keep going.
Erroneous.
And so I think with a gambling bill that is looking like it's going to pass, which it did, by the way, in Canada, based on what we heard from people, it doesn't look like they're going to move forward with that merger because gaming would give the CFL a new revenue stream. The article goes on to say that a source close to the XFL says that is not true. The talks are ongoing. The CFL says any bets on the gambling legislation, pun intended, let alone our talks with the XFL, seem premature, even risky at the moment.
Okay. Who are his sources? I like we said, all about the motives for what his group is doing with the resources, United Football, not a union, whatever you call it. But to say that Montreal, BC, and Toronto are the only teams that the XFL is interested in because they're profitable is so wrong. It just shows how flat out ignorant you are to the CFL, because those are the least profitable teams. Quite the opposite.
The biggest markets in the CFL are the least profitable teams right now.
Yes,
it's a well-known fact.
They're the biggest market, least profitable teams.
Not true. So that was the little interesting part of that quote, is why would the XFL only be interested in those markets? And if they were interested in those markets, then just put teams in those markets. It's not that hard.
Yeah, and that's just silly. And I'm happy because we've done our due diligence, we've done our research, and we've talked to guys like Dave Naylor, and we've been reading every angle you get on the CFL to know that kind of stuff as we prepare and talk about the alignment talks, because we want to know what we're talking about. You would think someone in Ken Farrow's position would want to do the same, and I hope he's not just getting fed false information purposefully, because that could be the case, because he's taken some wild swings and misses the last few months when it comes to the development of these leagues and the progression of the CFL and the XFL moving forward. So the next part, though, is kind of a common sense thing. It's been in the back of your mind, at least if you're following all this stuff, all the gambling legislation for sports betting in Canada and how that's going to really help the CFL for sure. But again, the reporting on it has been the opposite, has been that will have no effect on the XFL CFL alignment talks and the future of that, even though it's going to be it's going to be a boom, it's going to help the business, the bottom line of the CFL. The consensus is the CFL business model cannot sustain itself without some major changes, and the XFL is the best way to move forward in doing so. So the gambling stuff really is moot when it comes to that point, when it comes to the CFL just doing such great business, they'll be able to drop these alignment talks. I mean, at the end of it, maybe for some reason that's the case because the traditionalists are able to, be heard and win that argument, and the CFL leaves the table. But from what we're hearing and we're talking about every single week, Bryant, doesn't sound like that's happening.
Not at all. And I think it's important to know that maybe he does have sources or inside information that we're not privy to. Totally possible. But with all the NDAs that we talk about every single week here,
yeah,
and everything going on and what it's all kind of leaning towards, none of that seemed true. So I don't want to call him a liar. That's definitely not what I want to say here.
Well,
but I feel like it's maybe
look at his record. Look at his record. He missed on the CFL not playing in 2021, right? He claimed that they're playing. The unions and the union signed on for it before the board of governors in that league. So he missed on that one and 0 for 1. And now 2 bold claims there by Kenneth Farrell in this article. That's interesting. Also that Daniel Kaplan put that in there. I don't know. I mean, just to maybe get a headline. I don't know, but it's I
didn't see it. I was reading the article, earlier today,
yeah,
and I didn't see that anywhere about that quote. I don't know if I missed it on the wire, but that quote was to me. That article is all about the XFL players, mind you. Also, by the way, it's not XFL; it's Alpha paying their players.
Yes, it's Alpha, and of course that the thing probably there is that Kenneth Farrow is a former player who's currently speaking frequently about everything and is he's kind of the face of the XFL player and is someone you would want to reach out to get a quote for sure. So but interesting. I mean, that just sounds like all opinion, man. Gambling in Canada gonna ruin the XFL CFL talks and the XFL. They only wanted the big city teams in Canada. What? Obviously, Kenneth Farrow does not listen to the show, Brian. We need to change that. Maybe get him on the show eventually. Get him focused a little bit and not just saying stuff, especially when he's trying to really support players. But interesting article. Check it out. It is behind a paywall, everybody. So support him at The Athletic if you want. We like to. And let's go to part 2 of the cover 2 now. Hal Mumme, what can you say? Just the coolest and the most innovative and resilient.
That's all that fits on the card.
And resilient. A whole game, frustration. The linemen are down in the Mega Bowl. But what happens at the end of it? The tiny note card wins out. The jousters go down. It's all Luis Perez's fault, obviously, but more so it's because Hal Mumme is brilliant and never stops throwing those crossing patterns. Just keep throwing them. Just short.
Play fast, do it again.
Play fast, do it again until they can't take it no more. They'll run out of gas eventually. They did. The jousters lose. Linemen win the Mega Bowl. Congrats.
Congrats to the linemen. I think, I don't know, did you watch any of that game or some of that game? Or?
Oh, yeah. I watched it. And then at the end, my jaw was on the floor. I couldn't believe it. I felt like easily was going to be Luis Perez and Gilbride's day. I just did not see that coming at the end.
they took Luis Perez out of the game at halftime, which was so weird to me. And to me, why do you do that in a championship game when you're up going into into halftime big, mind you?
It's because it's a players' league and everybody's got to get their.
That's why it's so hard
to
like actually enjoy this as a fan of a team. You have to be a fan of a player, and then they take the player out that I'm a fan of. That is so. This becomes whatever. Hal Mumme, congratulations.
It's more of a coaches' league too. That's at the end of it. It was all about the coaches.
I was hoping to get a nice Kevin Gilbride, Hal Mumme face off at center at half at midfield to talk about the overtime. Regardless,
So unfortunately, Sports Illustrated is not selling Lineman Mega Bowl Championship football helmet telephones, but I hear they might be selling the Hal Mumme Championship beach towel. And if that's the case, I need that for when I get out to LA.
Yeah, there you go.
Can you imagine me laying out on Venice Beach with my Hal Mumme beach towel? Go Lineman.
Don't lay out on Venice Beach at all.
Watch the needles and the glass.
Congratulations, Hal Mumme. The TSL, maybe we'll never see another Mega Bowl because it's going to be taken over by the USFL. Who knows at this moment in time? But Hal Mumme, basically, he is he's the wanted commodity, I would think, of the XFL right now if you want him to be a head coach in your league.
June Jones, Hal Mumme, Calvin Gilbride, Jerry Glanville, get them all. I'm all for it. I'm all for the Mega Bowl too. USFL, when that comes around, I highly suggest they go with Mega Bowl as their championship game. It's fun to say.
It just seems kind of too
semi-pro with Jackie Moon.
Yeah, that's basically. Do you think they're giving out big checks to people who make 50-yard field goals or whatever?
Yeah, did you see that guy Dukes at halftime kicked that 50-yard field goal? Can't believe it.
Don't score over 50 points. Don't score over 50 points. It's congratulations. It's gonna be interesting, Alan, when the XFL starts hiring coaches again. I was kind of looking. I think we all were looking for name notoriety when it came to the coaches. Bob Stoops being the biggest one and first. I don't think I want that anymore. I just want good coaches, someone that I can look up and be like, "What did he do? Yeah. What has he done?" Because I didn't know a lot of these names. I mean, Hal Mumme I knew. There's a few of them there, but if you take some of these coaches, like June Jones, I think was the last hire, if I'm not mistaken. It wasn't like this, wow pick. No one really was like, oh my God, June Jones. He ended up being the best coach in the league and didn't lose a game. So I'm kind of excited to see what the coaches are. Not so much about who the big name coaches are, but what they've done in the past and what they can do for the league when they come in.
Yeah, and that's definitely a conversation down the road, and we could have it any week, but I definitely want to see younger blood in the coaching ranks in the XFL when it returns. I mean, not across the board, but I feel like, that's the thing to do in the NFL now. You got these hot young coaches who are innovative, and I would love to see the XFL get into some of that because that's.
Well, I wouldn't mind some of the older coaches who maybe people thought the game had passed.
Not ageism or anything. Yeah.
No, not at all.
That's great to see, but you want to see I like the clash. I like to see a guy like a June Jones and they're a grizzled old vet coaching against some young punk who's barely
Pepper Johnson.
I want to call him Pepper's.
Pepper Johnson. He's not young, but I'm sorry. I meant Pep Hamilton. Pepper Johnson was what we're talking about. Pep Hamilton.
Pep Hamilton was he was the young buck of the.
He was a cool kid. He was taking his kids to go see Frozen.
Yep, and but he had been around a lot as a coordinator for a while, and it was his first head coaching gig. So more guys like Pep Hamilton, I would like to see too, and maybe even hotter and younger. But we'll discuss that down the road. What do you say we get into how we discuss the XFL with people we meet over the holidays coming up and in public now that we're out in public a little bit more? It's going to be all covered here in this week's Hot Read. So, Bryant, let me paint the picture. I'm at my local bar, my watering hole, where they sell all kinds of whiskeys, and vittles and delicious smoky wings. And I've been going there a whole lot because I'm not going to be in Pittsburgh for most of the summer. I want to get my fill in. And so the last few weeks, I've been there, I don't know, half a dozen times. And every time, invariably, the XFL comes up and I start explaining it to someone and they just get this look on their face of confusion, and they're just not prepared, especially in a bar setting, to get all these details. It's coming back, but we don't know when. It's owned by The Rock, but there are no players. We don't know where any of it's going to be played or what channel it's going to be on. But, the 2021 was really exciting. Wait, it was back in 2020? The confusion kills me, Bryant. Not everybody's up on it like we are and our listeners are, unfortunately. So how do I explain what the XFL is, or what the USFL is, or what the CFL or the TSL is, when in their current state, when I'm in public or a family member over the holidays, and they have that confused look on their face because it's killing me. I feel like I have the words in me, but I can't get them out properly. And I'm talking about this stuff every week. I think it's just because I get too excited.
You get too excited. You talk to me, a well-minded person when it comes to well-educated person, I guess you could say, when it comes to these things. So it's a little easier to conversate between the two of us. But when it comes to somebody who doesn't know what the actual is going on and just kind of hear snippets here and there about what actually is happening with spring football, it's hard. It's not going to be easy to explain to them. So how do you go about explaining them what? Well, I always say, I think we had this conversation way back when it was about the XFL. Hey, what should I expect from the XFL? And I think I brought it up to basically say, well, what is it that you want to know? Because there's got to be something you want to know if you're asking me a question, right? So that's always the kind of the good, like, okay, well, what have you heard? And let me try to debunk
them. Turn it on them and ask them the question.
Exactly.
That's a good way.
Or you can answer a question with a question and then answer that question. That's how it makes you sound smarter. So it's like, hey, Brian, what's going on with the XFL? Well, the XFL coming back this year? No, but hopefully they're coming back pretty soon. See?
There you go.
You answer their question with another question, and then you answer that question.
Okay, how do you answer this one then? I'm having wings with my cousin the other day, and he
You got wings in this current market?
Yeah, we got wings.
Oh man, huge wing shortage. Have you heard about the wing shortage?
No, I haven't.
Huge wing shortage.
Sized.
No, I think they're probably thighs. Were they thighs?
No, they were wings, jumbo size wings, and
Wingstop went to thighs because they ran out of wings.
Well, they're not getting the jumbos like my guy Bill at Jagoff's in Greenfield. I'm telling you, you got to get down there. And I'm sitting there eating wings with my cousin, and he says, "What's with this? I saw football on the TV the other day. Is that the XFL? I saw it was like a checkered team, and they looked like the Kentucky Wildcats." I said, "No, that's the Spring League. Those are the Jousters." What do I say to the people are seeing the Spring League on TV, and we saw people watched it, at least like 400,000 people. But there's a lot of those people that don't even know what they were watching because they're like, "Oh, this is the XFL still." No,
is it like a pimple popping video that shows up on TikTok? And you're like, "What am I watching? Oh, that's what I'm watching." So if he asked me that question, I'd say like, well, was that the XFL? No, that wasn't the XFL. No. You just kind of have to tell them what the Spring League is. So I think spring football right now is just in a flux because of the pandemic still. So if somebody asks you, hey, what's that football I was watching? Was that the XFL? I'm like, no, that's the Spring League. It's a league that's been around for a while. And those are just players that are looking for some game tape and getting reps to get themselves ready for for future opportunities.
I said as much, but maybe a little more bluntly. I told him it's like a scrimmage league, so those players could get game tape. And he said, "Oh, okay, that's why it wasn't promoted." I said, "Pretty much, but it's not the XFL. That's going to be a legitimate competitive league. We have no details on anything other than we know who owns it, and it's coming back." Maybe next year, but probably in 2023. Oh, and they're talking to the CFL, and then I get all excited, and then I start explaining the alignment talks, and then I just totally lose them.
All this. Yeah. Less is more in all these conversations because the more you have, the rabbit hole gets bigger and bigger, and you fall deeper and deeper into it.
But now this is my solution, though. This was my solution for that conversation, and this is what I'm going to recommend for everybody listening, if you fall into this, I can't get through to this person, or maybe there's a better way to explain to them all this stuff, because I want them to be interested in the XFL and all this awesome football that's going to be coming up. Grab their phone and open up probably the Apple Podcast app is what they mostly use, and search "This is the XFL Show" and subscribe to the show for them, and then tell them about the show, and then they can just listen to the show, and then they'll be informed, because that's what we're doing.
That's we're informing people from all fans, all types of fans, all different countries, all different ages, all different football loves.
Yes.
We're educating them here one at a time.
And unfortunately, what we do here on the show is a little bit too dense to maybe explain thoroughly in the, 30 seconds you have of someone's attention at a bar or at a family picnic. So just subscribe to the show for them is my suggestion.
If you don't remember, I'll toot our own horn a little bit here too. Remember, we were getting constant compliments from league personnel, all the corporate people getting hired, that they were listening to our show to help them catch up to know what the XFL was. Like that's
we were.
If it's good enough for the league personnel and it's good enough for people being hired by the league, then it's good enough for your cousin at the bar who's enjoying himself some wings.
Yes, that's the best way to go. Just tell them about the show, or you could tell them about the YouTube if they want to watch the show too.
XFL.show. That's how you answer this. How do you? So what's
God.
going on with the XFL right now? XFL.show. Next.
XFL.show. Just go there. You're going to know it all. I'm telling you, you're going to be so excited. And then just go on to the next thing of wherever you're at the bar or whatever.
Two more things. Try to keep them positive. So if you're even if you're in Canada, you don't want to speak ill will of the XFL right now, just because you don't know what this partnership is going to be. So if you start trash talking the XFL and it turns out that the CFL and the XFL are basically joined at the hip in 2022 or 2023, do you really want to be bashing the XFL? Do you really want to send people down that road and be like, hey, why should I care now? You just told me the XFL was this garbage league that never existed. Got to be careful. You have to be careful. You don't tell, like if a friend calls you and says, hey, I just broke up with my girlfriend, you don't call that girlfriend names. You give it at least some time, because you know what's
never know. Yep.
Yeah. Nothing worse than saying hi to a girlfriend that you said was a piece of crap.
Yeah.
Nothing worse.
All this,
so don't do that.
5 years later, you're at their wedding and you're like, I was just trying to support you, man. I don't know.
And the last thing I'll say is that if you need help, if you're stuck in this situation, if you're cornered, you have two options: XFL.show or text us 724-565-4XFL with the question. We'll shoot you an answer. Alan and I will be ready. Alan's not going to be doing much. He's going to be
immediately.
He's going to be in peril. You just tell him to hold on, or you'll text him later, something like that, and we'll text you back.
Well, just not this week, because I just have so many boxes, and
Happy Boxing
Day,
Day,
I have to tend to those, and then I'll get you maybe in a couple weeks. So that's an option.
Boxing Day.
But that's good advice from us, and who better to give you that advice? And you know what? I enjoy it, because I know you're getting out there in public, and I know that in August you're going to be out in public watching the CFL, maybe even betting on some games. That's also an interesting thing, trying to get my fellow American football fans into watching the CFL without scoffing. I mean, it kills me. I just tell them it's football, but I know this summer when the league starts up and I'm watching those games in public, probably at the bar, down with Bill at Jay Goff's, when I tell them I have money on the game, that's where everybody else will get interested. And then I could teach them something about the CFL too. And then I'll sneak in the alignment talk, and everybody's going to be educated, and we're going to be doing our job. And we're doing it baby steps, Bryant. We got to keep just working at it.
Can you imagine if we could bet on those spring league games, how much more of viewerships they probably would have got?
It pained me. It pained me, especially when those are airing alongside other big sporting events that you could wager on, because the world we live in now, I mean, in a lot of states, especially the one I'm in right now, which is pretty awesome, you could bet on games, on an app, and just watch them and enjoy them and have a stake in it. But the TSL, you couldn't do that. Can't wait for CFL to be able to do that. And people in Canada are going to be able to do that pretty soon too. So awesome. Congratulations to them. And thanks to all of the Canadians who have been listening to the show. We'll be getting more and more Canadian listenership, we've noticed, Bryant. And we, of course, know that the alignment talks are helping with that too. But welcome aboard, everybody. We're ready to ride in the same boat with you.
Your Saskatchewan Rough Riders right now are coming in at plus 500 to win the Grey Cup.
Yeah.
Third best odds behind
like
Hamilton and Winnipeg.
I like it. I'm gonna put something on that early then before something changes. Then I've seen it's up in the air though. I mean, who'd you say was number one? Winnipeg to repeat?
Hamilton at 300 and Winnipeg at plus 400. And then you have
Hamilton's ahead.
Ottawa bringing in the rear at plus 1,200.
Yeah, Ottawa has no chance. But I'm very interested to see how the Owls improve. I think they're going to be improved too. Just to give my little CFL preview, Bryant. But I can't.
I thought I was looking for an actual owl. Like who?
No,
I was like, who
the
Owls?
Owls.
The Alouettes. Yeah. I'm learning something.
Yes, the Alouettes, which might be your team. Have you picked a team yet?
I am not picking the Montreal Alouettes. Montreal's just has some Stanley Cup things to worry about right now anyway. So
yes, they do.
I'm telling you, I'm going for. They still have them listed here as the Eskimos. I'll get that updated. But the Edmonton Elk.
You better change that to Elks, whatever website you're on.
I don't know, man. I'm asking people to sell me on this, and people haven't sold me on anything. Someone did say I saw on YouTube to go with the Argos. It's hard for me to go with anything Toronto.
Yeah,
see, that's Golden State.
Yeah, Bryant has a deep-seated hatred for most of the Canadian NHL teams. So
I do like the Winnipeg Jets. I'm a big fan of the Winnipeg Jets.
That could maybe you'll be a Blue Bombers fan then.
Yeah, see, I'm not a fan of most of the other Canadian teams.
But do you want to be a front-running CFL fan, just picking the team that won the championship to root for them?
I honestly didn't even know they won the championship last time. So.
They did for the first time in like forever too. They got 2 years to celebrate it.
By the way, you've just made two. This might be a thing in the Blue Bombers might be a sign because you've made two Frozen references with Blue Bombers, and that's all I watch nowadays is Frozen on repeat. So for the first time in forever.
Wait, I thought it was Moana that was on.
No, that's old. That was last week. What are you talking about? It's all Frozen.
Oh, okay.
We'll get to it at some point. Well, if you listen, pay attention. Just pay attention to what I say. Are you listening? Jeez.
I'm listening.
Well, hopefully our fans catch us here every single Friday right here on your favorite podcast app. That's Google Podcasts, Apple, Stitcher, TuneIn, or wherever you get your podcast. Make sure you give us that 5-star review and tell your friends about us. If you got a question, comment, or topic you want us to cover, well then text or call the XFL Fan Line 724-565-4XFL. Standard text messaging and international rates do apply. Also follow us on social media platforms at XFL Show, Instagram, Twitter, Alan's favorite, Facebook, and maybe TikTok one day. Or if you want to say hello, then subscribe and watch us on YouTube at xfl.show, the official website of This Is the XFL Show. And don't forget to check out our sponsors, Pretty Easy Podcast. Go to prettyeasypodcast.com and get started today because they make podcasting pretty easy.
Will this show be out every single week for you to watch or listen to? Absolutely. Will I get this particular episode out at the same time all the other ones are usually out? I don't know. I've got so many boxes to go, Bryant. I'm so tired. But I'll get it out there. I got to get it up.
You can just drive out there on Sunday. Everybody. Push it all day. Just push it all day. Ask the Board of Governors.
I got to ask the Board of Governors. You got to ask the unofficial player advocacy group, It's a whole process, as they say.
Now, are you an organized pack, or are you just putting stuff in a box? Like, do you have a kitchen box? Do you have a bedroom box? Do you have an office box?
Everything is boxed according to the room it was in and also the area of the room it was in. So, like, if packing up the studio that I'm not even in right now because it's upstairs and empty, all the desk stuff's together, yes. All the audio stuff's together. And all of the VHS stuff is together, of course.
The VHS stuff is together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you see my little CRT? The old TV, is it back there?
I see. I see it. Yep, I see it now. Yeah, I see it. What's covered in the white saran wrap looking thing?
That's another TV. That's a plasma. They don't even
Oh
make
my
those
jeez, yeah, they don't make them anymore. That might be illegal in like some states. Actually, I think be careful where you're actually
Am
sending
I
that
allowed to
to.
drive with that thing in the U-Haul?
No, I feel like it's a bomb.
I swear, officer, it's just a television. No, but
if you can't get on a train or a plane with those like little hoverboards, there's no way you could get driving a plasma around town. I'll tell you that much right now. It probably weighs a ton too.
Well, we'll see if I make it out. I'll have a 6-hour drive. I think I'll be good.
If you take that plasma with you, it'll probably turn into 8. It's going to drag you.
You think? Or maybe it might speed me up. Does it act like a nitro
Well, it
booster?
depends. If you put it at the front of the bobsled, like John Candy did, then maybe it'll weigh it down and get you going a little faster.
I can't believe he cheated, but you know what? He taught that bobsled team the right way. That's all that matters. He redeemed himself. And some people say, they can't believe we're still doing the show, and we're going to be back next week. This was a lot of fun, even though I wasn't in a formal studio. Probably won't be for a while, everybody. See, where will I be next week on the show? I might be right next to Bryant pretty soon in person. And you know what? It's going to be a lovely summer. We're excited to keep rolling along this road to kickoff whenever that is with you. So thanks, everybody. Don't forget, when you're at the bar, just say XFL.show. That's the easiest and best way to get people informed. For Bryant, I'm Alan. We'll be back next week. This is the XFL Show. Remember, they're listening.